Jonathan here in the studio. The Super Bowl has also been receiving a lot of coverage because of this controversial advert that's due to be aired during a break in the play tonight. Perhaps tell us why this advert is so controversial in the first place.
Because usually when it comes to Super Bowl, these types of advertisements would only be about commercial sorts of things like Pepsi or Coke or stuff like that. And let me come back to Pepsi in just a second. So this is very, very unusual. However,
this advert, it's from a conservative Christian group, and it's been described as being pro-life, although they say the word abortion doesn't feature in it.
Yes, it is pro-life. It's basically about one of the players, Tim Tebow, from one of the teams, saying that if his mother would have had an abortion, he wouldn't be here, and that's basically the message that it's going across. But that cost them $2.5 million to actually have the ad. It's so interesting because it is the most expensive place that you can actually put an advertisement, or a commercial rather, is during the Super Bowl. But 100 million people, that's why people are doing it. 100 million people, Jane, are actually watching it.
A third of the population. It's astonishing, isn't it?
And if you put that into some type of context, I've got here the figures, and by comparison, only 37.8 million Americans watched President Obama's inauguration on January the 20th of last year. So you can see that it's something different. But, a lot of things are happening this year in terms of advertising and branding to do with the Super Bowl. As I said, Pepsi, for one, which is one of the world's biggest brands, is not advertising on the Super Bowl. The reason for that is that they're actually getting involved with another campaign which is all about giving back to the community. So their logic was, if we spend $12 million odd on advertising, it's not really giving back to the community. Interesting stuff.
It is. Alan, we talked about the numbers who watch this. Why is it that Super Bowl is such a huge event in America? What's the appeal of it compared to, perhaps Cup final here in the UK, for example?
Well, it's a national holiday, basically. Even though it's on a Sunday, it's a national day of celebration. And one of the controversies about the adverts is that the Super Bowl is seen as everybody's day in America, whatever your class, creed, colour, religion, whatever it is. The Super Bowl is your day to celebrate being an American, get in front of the big screen TV, invite all your friends round, eat, drink and be merry. And one of the controversies is, of course, that now an element of politics has been introduced to the adverts before. And adverts were always part of the fun. The big competition between advertising companies was to come up with the funniest Super Bowl ad, whereas before people were just wondering whether Budweiser or Bud Light would win the Bud Bowl, and now people are talking about why the Tim Tebow ad is allowed to be on, and yet, for example, a gay dating website's advert has been turned down by CBS.
Jonathan, there have been calls on CBS to withdraw this ad. What effect do you think, if any, that might have?
You're talking about it. It's fantastic effect from the branding point of view of what they're looking at. Everyone is talking about this ad because no one is absolutely sure, because no one knows the content, no one's seen the content of what exactly is going to be going on in the ad. The other thing about what Alan was saying about the idea about it is, a national, well, not an unofficial, if you wish, national holiday. It's quite interesting because I think that there's a dark horse contender just around the corner, which is NBA. Which with their All-Stars game, which is coming up very shortly, they're going to have 100,000 people, so they say, in a stadium. And so there is all of a sudden a contender, and of course NBA, as Alan would tell you, is trying to get into Europe as well. So it's quite interesting.
Fascinating stuff. Jonathan and Alan, thanks very much for your thoughts, and I'm sure you'll both be tuned in later on.